Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So in this video, we're going to talk about, again, Alonso, but there was actually a interesting note that came out on X, actually a post that put out by a Pat Ragazzo, you can see it right here. There's a couple of them. First, the sources, free agent right-handed pitcher Max Scherzer threw in front of teams at Cressy Sports Performance Pro Day earlier in the week. I'm told scouts like what they saw. I mentioned the Mets, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and a few other teams. Then he retweeted, quoted himself and said, hearing Mets have some level of interest in reuniting with Max Scherzer on a one-year deal. Now, that's not me saying it, so don't unsubscribe. Get mad at me. I've been hearing this for a couple of weeks now. Here and there, that the Mets have talked to him and they have some kind of level of interest. What it is, I don't know. I know the Mets liked him a lot. I know that there was a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama around him, on the field. And then when you talk to him, he gets all flustered and the whole thing with the sticky palm. But that wasn't his fault. That's just the umpire, discriminating against the Mets. But there is some issues here because he has had a difficult time staying healthy the last few years because his body, he's logged in a lot of innings. He's logged on over 3,000 innings, so he's put in a lot of work. So, but I know that they've been looking at another starter over the last few weeks. I've heard Jack Flaherty, but Max Scherzer is a lightning rod because, like when he didn't pitch well for the Mets, it was all these excuses. I'm just bringing it up for this, but of course, don't let that, if you're subscribing, don't unsub, please. I'm just talking about it. It's not the focus of this video. Also, if you're a returning viewer, please subscribe. And of course, if you're new, please subscribe as well. But this video is about Pete Alonso in case he goes elsewhere. Now, there was such conflict in terms of where he might go. Yesterday, it looked like he was going to the Blue Jays. Then the Blue Jays beat right, said, no, nothing's close. The same thing with Max Scherzer, nothing's close. So it's like, it's basically started where we started today. where we've been. Stalemate. And this is from MLB.com. What are Mets' first base options if Alonso signs elsewhere? So we kind of know where the Mets are going to go. I'll just skip around. The most obvious path to replace Alonso there, and one with which Mets officials are comfortable, involves shifting Mark Vientos from third to first. That would in turn open third base for a host of competitors, namely Brett Baty, Ronnie Mauricio, and Luis Angel Acuna, but also offseason acquisitions Jarrett Young and Luis De Los Santos. And I would mention, I've been hearing a lot of people online saying the Mets had 3 openings, 3 question marks on the infield. What are they talking about? Second base is not a question. Jeff McNeil and these kids are going to be playing second. Okay? Second base is fine. The Mets are in good shape there. And there is some kind of word that they could bring back Luis Iglesias. Excuse me. Jose Iglesias. I'm all right. So that second base is not a problem. I don't know where that started. Now, I would mention about Jarrett Young, and I mentioned him here. He played in Korea. And played really well last year for about, a few weeks. This is also the president of baseball operations, was the former general manager of the Brewers, who brought in Marcus Thames when he was with the Brewers. So he's not afraid to bring in players and just put them at first and say, he doesn't look at first base as a critical position. He just doesn't. Jeff McNeil's versatility helps, though. He profiles best at this point as the starting second base. So again, there's no real empty space there. I don't know where this third, people complain about second base all of a sudden. It's not an ideal proposition to ask Vientos to switch to a new position just as he established himself as a big league regular. But Vientos does have 84 career appearances at first between the majors and minors. Okay. Then there is Jesse Winker, recently returned on a one-year deal and has spoken about his comfortability at first. Okay, well that's good too. Now, what's going to be interesting is where does Pete go again? Until he signs with another team, I think he's going to come back to the Mets. But now we're getting to a point now. I can see this idiot agent take him into spring training and not have a team, and then he'll have to come back. You know, this is so stupid. This whole way, the whole thing, the way it's been treated, the way Pete has approached this is so terribly lousy. But again, this executive, David Stearns, will not give in. If he doesn't think a player's worth it, he's not going to go overboard. I've got so many crazy comments either here or X, and I would mention, of course, if you're on X, please follow me at the Baseball Hut. I'll put the link in the description. There are so many people that are kind of a little deranged. People don't want to give David Stearns any kind of chance. People want to run him out of town already. You know, he got the team to the postseason last year, and they just want to run him out of here. I had one guy say the only reason he signed Juan Soto, as you can see here, Juan Soto is because he was forced to. Forced to. He's the boss, and someone's forced him to do it. It doesn't, but yet he's not being forced to sign Pete Alonso. This doesn't make sense. And you got to sort of understand how Stearns looks at it. He looks at the long-term situation. To sign a player to a 7-year deal, a 5-year deal, does it hurt the organization long-term? It's not about this year. I mean, you know, if it was a 1-year deal, the Mets would have signed Pete, no problem. But there's this issue about the years, I guess. He wants a lot of years, and the Mets aren't going to give it to him. And never forget, the team that knows a player the best is his original team. Never, ever forget that. It's very important to remember that. But David Stearns, when he was with the Brewers in 2022, traded Josh Hader. And people thought he was crazy for doing it. The team was in the middle of a pennant race. He was their best player. He traded them. The whole entire team had a revolt, and they got pissed off. He's like, I can't keep him here. We can't afford him. He's got no value if I keep him here any longer than this year. And he traded him. He didn't think twice about it. That's the same thing with Pete. And Pete is going to be either here on the Mets' terms, or he's not going to be here. David Stearns is not going to give in to any kind of demands from any fan base. He's just not going to do that. You either hire a guy, okay, to do what he thinks is best, or you hire a yes man and deal with the outside pressure. And it's funny, and also people said he's very arrogant. So why? Because he likes to smile all the time. You want Jeff Wilpon, who whenever he dealt with the media or dealt with fans, he's always pissed off. You know, and he was the owner. You know, but you know the Mets waited a long time to get this guy to run the ball club. They waited 3-4 years for him to become the president of baseball operations here. And now that he's running the club, and a lot of people were excited about him, wanting him, and now he's running the club. Same people are complaining about the way he's running things. You either run it like a business, or you run it like a fan. If you run it like a fan, you're gonna run your. Now, it's funny too. Back in 21, going into 22, Mets spent a lot of money. We saw all the contracts that basically had blown up in their faces. The long-term contract to Max Scherzer, that blew up. The Starling Marte contract, they can't get rid of him. The following offseason, they signed Jeff McNeil to a 4-year deal plus an option. That deal's turned into a disaster. He's in his 30s. You know, you have all these kinds of contracts. Then they signed Justin Verlander. That contract was a disaster. At least they were able to flip him and Scherzer, and they got some talent back. But now that talent seems to be up in the air, especially the Houston deal, because Drew Gilbert seems to have taken a major step back as a prospect, and Ryan Clifford, aside from him being a top prospect, the numbers in terms of the batting average is not very high, and there's some issues here as a player, in my opinion, from what I've read and know of. But I mean, you got to understand, if you sign these older players to these long-term deals, there's going to be a downside, a major downside. So that's the thing about Pete, is he's not in a premium position. He's not an outfielder. He's not a shortstop. And you're asking a guy who's 30 years old, and the numbers have declined, and he's had an injury. He's had major injuries to that wrist of his over the years. So that bat speed, at least it has been a concern for me, and it was a concern this past season. But Stearns is not going to give in. If Stearns brings back Pete, it'd be on his terms and not on Pete's terms. That I can tell you. That I can absolutely tell you. He's not going to be bullied. He's not going to be intimidated by fans complaining that they're not going to watch the club because Pete's not here. That's the most, I've seen that comment the last couple of days. It's like desperation. This guy is not going to listen to you. He's going to do what's right for the club. And that's it. And that's what you want. That's what I want. The name on the back is meaningless to the name on the front. Now I got it here displayed because it looks cool. But other than that, it's always the name. It's always this name. That's the most important thing. It's not that. It's this. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Well, anyway. Let me know what you think about this video. And of course, if you're a returning viewer, please hit the subscribe button. If you are a new viewer, please hit the subscribe button. And of course, thank you for watching. We have memberships here. Check them out, and I'll see you later.